you'll be able to watch it. Like I said, if no one comes in, then we'll just have a quick conversation about Christ consciousness. All right, folks, this is going to be something we do every Wednesday, roughly this time, 6 p.m. PST Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, if no one comes in that wants to debate, we're just going to have a conversation, okay? I'm just going to talk to you about my position of Christ consciousness, and people can watch this and then maybe choose to debate next time. It's come to my attention that the most important conversation we can be having right now in spirituality is Christ consciousness versus crucifixion. It is the crux, funny enough, it is the crux of the problem in the Abrahamic religious system. It is the crux of the problem with most corruption. Let's break down first, as we're going to talk about this, the idea of Yahweh. I want to be very clear here, because I think there's still a lot of people that are super confused about this, regardless of how many times I say it. And I don't think it's a problem of comprehension. I think people are purposely mentally blocking out what I'm saying. But I'm going to say it very clear right here again. Yahweh, Y-A-H-W-E-H, is not the same as Y-H-V-H, as said in Exodus 3:14 and elsewhere. YHVH is the tetragrammaton, meaning the 4-letter word. Yahweh is a 6-letter word. Right on the face of it, they cannot be the same, because grammatically and technically, they are different. You can't reconcile those two things. The tetragrammaton literally means the 4-letter word. So when people say a 6-letter word and say it's the same thing as that, it's impossibly, it's ridiculous to even try to make that distinction. Yahweh is much different than YHVH, because Yahweh is a recent creation. You can't get Yahweh until you mistranslate Hebrew into other languages that would put the E and the A, or the A and the E inside of that word. So right off the bat, it's a mistranslation. Not to mention, YHVH has much more powerful implications. Here's what I mean. This is the point I'm going to make. When you think Yahweh, you think the God of Abraham. You think the guy that told Abraham to sacrifice his kid. You think the God that told folks in Deuteronomy to do weird stuff to their babies and throw them against stones. And the God who was doing all sorts of weird narcissistic stuff with Adam and Eve and all this. The issue is that all these stories are much deeper. They have powerful metaphoric meanings that explain to us the very nature of our being and creation. It's got nothing to do with Adam and Eve being bad boys and girls in the Garden of Eden. It has to do with the consequences of becoming conscious and the toil, the pay that we must offer because we become more intelligent. Why does Eve have to start feeling pain in childbirth? Because as we become more conscious and our brains get bigger, our heads get bigger. And so childbirth becomes painful. Why does Adam have to toil in on the land instead of live in the Garden of Eden? Because when we become conscious, aware of the past and present, of good and evil, we stop living in a harmonious relationship with nature the way the birds and the gazelle do, who have all the food they need there. Man begins to wonder and think and build. And therefore, he must toil. He must work. Everyone tries to use these examples. Well, Eve is punished with childbirth and Adam is punished to work. No. It's not a punishment. It's a fair and equal trade. We become, and then the gods say, we become like the gods. Okay? Now, how do they tell the story? Adam and Eve are said, don't eat one fruit in the garden, and they got kicked out. Y'all think it's literal now, right? Because that's how they've lied to you. The YHVH is a higher concept. It's not this being. It's explaining to you a metaphoric story about gaining consciousness. Yahweh plays a trick on two innocent human beings by giving them free will, but not giving them much information on anything. It's like telling a kid, don't look in that one room. What's the kid going to do? Look in the one room. And then you let a serpent, Satan, 10 times more cunning than these new human beings, trick them, and then it's their fault? See, that's a story of Yahweh, 6-letter word. But it's not real. It was fabricated by the Pharisees, by the Vatican and the Roman Catholic Church, because what happened was this guy named probably like Yeshua Christ came on the scene, got the actual true information of reality, and was like, whoa, we're in a problem right now. This religion's crazy, this government's crazy. Kind of sounds like what I talk about. This religion's crazy, this government's crazy. And what happens? The same things happen to me that happened to him. I'm not saying I'm Christ. I'm saying when you walk like a Christ, all the stories that you read in the Bible are going to happen to you. How many Pharisees do I run into that I have to argue with? Does the government like me? No, I'm probably on 10 FBI watch lists, right? Just because I say things, not because I'm dangerous. So what happened was after they dealt with Christ, after the Romans killed Christ the way they killed common criminals, it wasn't a magical sacrifice. It was how Romans degraded and degraded and punished the offender and terrified the rest of the people, saying, look what will happen if you do this. That's the message Rome was sending. After they got rid of Christ, what happened? The bad guys wrote the story about your Savior. That doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't trust an iota of that story. The bad guys wrote the story. And there's lots of talk about, who is it, John? Selling out to the Vatican, to the Pharisees, to tell the story the way they wanted them to tell it. Understand that the Council of Nicaea, the primary argument was Christ a man who became God or a God who became man? The people that were saying Christ is a man who became God, that he's not deified, that he's like us and he attained something we all can, those are all the people that actually knew him. Those are all the people that actually knew the spirituality and the real religion. Who said that Christ was a God who became man? Constantine, the Roman Catholic Church, the Pharisees, the ones that would want to control you because they were trying to control you when Christ was alive and he was trying to stop them. Then they killed him and then they wrote the story. I mean, I've got 1,000 examples. This one should be enough for you to convert to a follower of Christ, not a modern Christian. It's a joke. It's a control system. Here's another one people aren't going to be able to argue with me with. Even if we go with the ridiculous assumption that there's an original sin, it's stupid on the face of it, as I've just explained. Even if we go with that. So we got this guy. We're not going to touch on the fact that he's God who became man. That's also stupid. God became a human being, which is also his son, so he could kill himself and so he could feel what that feels like, because he's not all-knowing and he couldn't know what that feels like ahead of time, so he could understand people and forgive them. Please. You know why this sounds so ridiculous? Because it's like cavemen walking up on the pyramids and going inside of them and thinking they're bathtubs or tombs. It's the same thing. We have these modern people that are bland in spirit who take this book and be like, oh, that's what this means. Right? And they're susceptible to the programming. The Vatican's got pine cones everywhere. Do you know what the pine cone is? It's the pineal gland. You want to know why priests they abstain from copulation? Because when you don't use that organ, this one gets bigger. That's the real reason they do it. They'll tell you a bunch of other stupid reasons. They'll pretend like the pine cone is just like they like the shape of a pine cone. But they know exactly what's happening. The pineal gland is your spiritual gland that helps you have spiritual sight. When you abstain from copulating, from knocking the boots, literally those glands shrink and this one literally gets bigger. That's what that's all about. And then they tell you this nonsense. You have to blood sacrifice, da-da-da-da-da. Okay? It's sick. It's insane. But it's meant the reason they do that is because Christ gave everyone the master key. Christ gave everyone the master key. Imagine if there was like 30 Jesuses that day. One, Christ wouldn't have went on a cross. I'll tell you that much. Because the other 29 would have died to stop it. Imagine if there was 100 or 1,000 of them. Rome would have fell. That's what they were scared of. They were afraid of 1,000 more Christs. Right now, they're still terrified of 1,000 Christ. Imagine 1,000 Christ on the planet right now, in every single country, fivefold. every system would fall. That's what they're afraid of. That's why they tell you that Christ crucified, blood sacrifice, you're terrible. Don't think about yourself as a God. Come on, man. This is gaslighting. People got Stockholm syndrome. In the very beginning of the Bible, the Elohim say that we are gods. Christ says we'll do far greater things than he. This is insanity. This is absolute insanity. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, so we're not getting anybody who's wanting to debate. We won't go too much longer if no one wants to come in for a debate. 1 second.
If you have somebody who wants to, I was just directing you to the YouTube.
The deal? Okay. Well, we'll wait for that because we've got the link. If you do want to get in and have a debate, this is debating, right? We're going to be having conversations with each other about like-minded people. That's going to happen on tomorrow. We're going to have a couple people. And then when the Order of Melchizedek gets started, that's an open forum for everyone who wants to have a conversation, not a disagreement. So I'm only doing this right now. I'm not looking for a fight. I think this is important to have these tough conversations to help people and maybe help myself so I can learn something. But we're going to dedicate some time to having these hard conversations instead of just being in our own echo chambers. We need to meet. We need to start having debates in the public square. So I'm just waiting for that invite.
You got another one too. It's interesting.
All right, just click the link, Aaron. There's a link right here. It's the very first comment. See how I don't know how to pin it, but it's the first one. There's only a few comments here. It's above Kurtz. Isn't the story of Christ equally symbolic as the stories of the Old Testament? It's most certainly possible that it's only. But what I think happened is the intensity of the story and the retelling of it, and the fact that people believe it's true. I think there has to be some sort of real aspects of it. Although, yes, there are many parts that are metaphoric. We can find Dionysus and Horace written all over the story of Christ. All right, we're letting Aaron in. How you doing, Aaron?
Hi, how you doing?
Your headphones.
Oh, let me get my headphones. Hang on, I gotta get my headphones on so I can hear you.
I've just got to grab a battery bank quick out of my bag down next to me. I live in a tent in the forest, so.
Oh, yeah?
I'm running off of battery banks for power at the moment.
Yeah?
And I just noticed that my phone's got 16%, so I'm just going to quickly plug it in so it doesn't run out.
All right. Sounds good. So
Right,
what brings you out
go.
to the forest? You looking for some nice peace and quiet?
I just don't want any part of the system. I had a spiritual awakening in 2020, experienced the divine light, realized how corrupt everything is and how we've been manipulated by religion, divided, and kind of activated this Christ consciousness. And I felt like Jesus at the time, and I thought, wow, that's what he went through. I didn't really say much about that at the time because I thought people were going to think I'm nuts. So I just learned, went really deep into meditation, eating healthy food, organic food, growing as much of my own food as I can.
Yeah.
And I don't like paying bills.
Yeah.
It's just a big money drain and a drain on our energy through the money as well. So
yeah,
I figured,
people like you, huh?
Yeah, no, sorry, go on.
I think people like you are setting the stage and making an example for a lot of people that are still on the edge. They don't know how to jump, right?
Yeah.
They don't know. They're afraid of the idea of living in the wilderness and taking a chance. And so I think that people like you, you're the bravest ones out there that are showing people it can be done. It'll be hard at first, but then there's 2, and then there's 3 people, then there's 4 people. There's a person that can build houses out of wood. There's a person that knows how to create basic plumbing. Because a lot of people, you can tell they're getting weary because they're running out of money to pay bills. They're not going to sell their soul out for whatever digital currency or whatever. And so hats off to you, man.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you for all your videos and stuff, because it's given me a lot of confirmation, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I I tried to sort of reach out on social media via Facebook and Instagram, and I was on YouTube, and I just kept getting shadow banned. And it's like, wow, they really don't like me trying to spread this love and awareness.
Yeah.
And I started walking the UK coast. I walked about 1,000 miles with carrying about 55 kilograms between 2 bags, and obviously my tent and that. And I was just going around helping homeless people. And I was getting some donations, you know, people were helping me out so that I could, you know, fund it. And it was brilliant. But I got to a point where one of my sons started struggling with mental health. So I had to come back to my hometown, Southampton. And I've just picked a little woodland, you know, just outside of Southampton, because I just didn't want to get back into the system. And I've grown my own food here. Not only small, very small scale, but I'm just kind of learning as I'm going at the moment. But I want to run healing camps, and my idea is almost identical to yours about having growing your own food, building shacks for homeless people to come and stay, work on the farms. But mine's slightly different when it comes to a farm, because I like the idea of food forests.
Yeah.
Because a farm, you think about a farmer, they have to water their crops every day. Nobody goes to the forest and water it. It looks after itself. And you've got 7 layers to a forest, and every layer of the forest can be edible food. You know, the vines that connect everything. People think that the vines are strangling the trees and killing them, but it's connecting the top layer with the bottom layer. And it's what, you know, it's what the entire forest is conscious. The entire universe is conscious. And, you know, when you connect to that, God, it's just magical, isn't it?
Yeah. And no, and I totally agree with you. I say farm because it's an accessible word to get people started.
Yeah.
But I absolutely agree with you. We have to learn from nature again. I mean, they're going into the Amazon now, and they're sitting there like, yo, these people built this.
Yeah.
Like they enhanced the nature in such a way that they were able to live in the jungle with all the food they could ever live off of, all the remedies to all of their illnesses. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I absolutely agree. And it produces more food per square foot. And like you said, no demand on the water. The trees help water everything. The canopy stops for evaporation. You don't get dry soil ever. It just stays the temperature, the moisture it's supposed to be. So I totally agree with you, actually.
Yeah, I mean, people are so busy trying to dig weeds out of their flower beds, and what they don't realize is those ground cover, what they call weeds, are mostly herbs, and they're covering the soil and stopping it drying out. They're needed, so that's part of the system.
Not to mention, a lot of the weeds are edible. I mean, the dandelion. You can pick apart a piece of dandelion, brilliant, and it's great for you.
Yeah, and you know, even the root you can grind up, and it tastes like coffee.
Oh wow!
It's not got the caffeine in it, but it gives you that kind of coffee flavor if you roast it.
Yeah, and dandelion root's incredibly good for your body. I think it detoxes the liver. It's good for the stomach.
It's very good for the liver. Yeah, because I mean, it's not. I mean, it's the flowers, the leaves, the stem, and the roots. It's all got a purpose. It's all got a use, and it's all detoxing. So yeah, it's definitely the way forward for people to learn about that stuff. You know, as well as the sort of psychedelic mushrooms, ayahuasca, and all of that kind of stuff. That can really open up the doors of perception and allow you to see way beyond what we realize.
There's so many problems that could be solved too, because it opens up all these doors in your mind. We may be dealing with an existential problem that only requires a weekend session of ayahuasca to figure out how to solve it. That could be any person at any time struggling with a human problem that's gigantic, and just make a few new connections that no human being has before, because that's what psilocybin and ayahuasca does. And then they produce this thing. But like you said, it's being shadowed. There is an intentional, I mean, if people can't see that there is an intentional campaign to limit us, to weaken us, to sicken us.
I know. I know.
I'm
I try not
shocked that they
to.
can't see it.
I try not to talk about it too much, because I think when I kind of, the more we go on about it, and the more, and when other people can't see it, they just kind of think, oh, you're just crazy. You're imagining it, or
Yeah,
you're paranoid. But I mean,
yeah,
this has been going on for years on my account, and it's like so clear. And since
yeah.
I've started a TikTok account, it was only about a year ago I started the account, and I've had viral videos. I've got just under 11,000 followers on there, and
Nice.
it's been brilliant. And I keep seeing it. I don't watch mainstream media, the TV or the radio or anything like that, because I just can't stand all the propaganda, and I can't watch any normal TV without
Yeah,
thinking, oh my god, look what they're doing. They're doing that to manipulate you in this way or that way, and
yeah,
it kind of ends up I'm just criticizing all the way through, and I'm almost ruining it for other people in a way, and I don't want to kind of push them away like that. So I kind of have to bite my tongue a lot, kind
yeah,
of when it comes to that stuff. But I'm getting more and more confident with saying it how it is.
yeah.
Because I think we have to a certain extent. But some people are ready to hear that stuff, and some people aren't. And it's finding that balance, isn't it? And trying to find the ones that are ready for it.
Yeah, yeah, and I've also struggled with that balance a lot. And the two things that I've tried to do are, if I hear about something, I don't usually go and look for it, but someone will bring
No.
something to my attention, like people
Yeah.
talk about the alien thing in Peru,
Yeah.
the Vegas incident, Hawaii, whatever it is. If they bring it to my attention, I'm like, and I see too many people are being tricked, I'll make a few videos about it and say, hey, try to look at it in a different way, using
Yeah.
objective analysis, using your logic, going
Yeah.
back to your heart and compassion, just real phenomenological truth, right? Don't put fantasy
Yeah.
on it. Don't listen to what the government's telling you or the media is telling you. Use your common sense
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
ask the question again, right? And then besides that, you just, when you have your position, you stay there. And if anyone, because you're going to get enough people that come and challenge you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're
Totally.
busy all day with just people saying, hey, I don't like that you're doing that. I says, well, I'm going to keep doing it. And here's
It's
why I'm going to keep doing it, because it's a
yeah.
better way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it quite funny, really, when I've got it a lot recently on TikTok, where I've got lots of fake accounts coming on my posts and just trying to heckle me, trying to lower my vibration, and they actually think that I'm absorbing their energy. And it's like, wow, nothing you can say is going to have any effect on my energy. All you're doing is making the algorithm show my videos to more people, because you're liking it or commenting on it, and so they're helping unknowingly most of the time. So they're not very creative, are they? These people that are trying to stop people like us, or try and affect us in a negative way, try and bring our vibration down so that we're not experiencing the life the way we are.
Yeah, and what I think is happening too is that as we're getting the different types of troll attacks, whether it's like gaslighting, trying to say, oh, you're crazy, you're on drugs, whatever, it's
Yeah.
happening so often to us, and we're finding more creative ways that we're evolving quicker than they can throw out their next attack. I feel like
Yeah.
we're reaching this place where they've run out of ideas.
Yeah, they
And
have, definitely.
nothing's working on us anymore. Yeah, I think
No.
ultimately it's strengthened us.
Yeah, it has. It really has. I mean, I don't know how you felt. So after I had the spiritual awakening. I mean, do you know what? I didn't even really know much about spirituality and spiritual awakenings, and I'd learnt meditation and breathing exercises, and I just experienced this crazy thing where my physical body completely melted away, and I rose up out of my body. I met this divine light. I had my entire life explained to me, why I'd had this suffering, and all we get is lessons and blessings. Anything negative you experience is to help you grow and learn,
Yeah.
and the other experiences are just for you to enjoy and experience. So it's like, it's quite bizarre, really, that it was almost like I'd been in the dark my whole life, and suddenly someone came and flicked the light on. and
Yeah.
everything
Yep.
became clear.
Yeah. So were you
Uh,
religious or spiritual at all before, or you were just kind of like chilling,
I,
agnostic, or?
I was raised a Catholic, but I'd completely lost faith in, and none of it made sense to me. You know, I mean, you've got this loving God that loves you unconditionally, but if you do anything wrong, you're going to burn in hell for eternity. It's like
Yeah.
that doesn't add up to me. It never made sense. So I wasn't ever really attached to it. I was kind of just I was brought up and kind of made to go to church on Sundays and stuff like that. I wasn't going there because I wanted to,
Yeah.
and I never really had that connection with the divine until I had this spiritual awakening, and then I
Yeah.
realized, wow, that stuff's real, but they've completely manipulated it all to throw us in the wrong direction because they know the divine power that we all have. If
Yes.
we rise up together, their world's over, and they know this,
Exactly.
and this is why they're trying to make us put us down, and this is why they created the internet and social media, because they want to spread their negativity.
Yeah.
And I mean, recently I've been getting loads of mainstream media films coming up on my TikTok feed, and I'm like, God, what are they doing? They're trying to like show you a little clip of it so that you go, oh, I want to watch that, and then you go and put the TV on. It's like, I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't even got a TV. I'm never going to do that. And it's just so obvious. Everything they do, it's just so obvious to me that it's a manipulation and a con.
Yeah. There, you're overseas, right? You're in Europe,
England.
England. Okay. So
Yeah.
over here in America, we have tons of jokes about how the cable company will like do anything to get you to sign on to cable. Not like
Yeah.
it gets so bad. You're like, this isn't about money, is it?
No.
This is about getting us in front of a television. Like you just want us. It's like religious for them, and it's actually kind of disturbing. And you realize, oh yeah, they're literally just trying to trap us inside of this. Tell us exact. Marshall McLuhan talks a lot about this.
Yeah. I mean, I realized it's all about programming your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Now, our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between us actually experiencing an event, thinking about an event, or watching it on the TV. It just records it all like you're experiencing it.
Yeah.
So then you get an automatic program written in your subconscious mind of how to deal with it if that happens again. So we're filled with all these programs that aren't supposed to be in there. And like they're channeling programs into our subconscious mind, and they call it channels and programs for that reason.
Yep, exactly.
And you know, it's
Remote
like Hollywood.
control.
Like Hollywood is what you make magic wands out of and staffs. It's Hollywood.
Yep.
I mean, I'm surrounded by that stuff in the forest that I live in. So I'm going to start having a little go at making stuff like that, and trying to put my intentions into that wood while I'm making it, and seeing how it goes, because I've never really tried that kind of stuff. I meditate in caves and stuff like that every now and then, and I kind of just focus all my energy and intent on healing and sending out love, strength, and healing energy to everybody around me, and all divine souls of the world. And
and you go ahead. Sorry.
No, go on. That's it. Yeah, it's clear on my throat.
Say, like, it's just it's very logical. It's very literal. It's very obvious, right?
Yeah.
Christ talks about the two commandments: love thy God and love thy neighbor the way you love yourself, or the way you love God.
Yeah.
Love God. And what God means is something far deeper than like a lot of people try to express it as. Is like all of creation, the act of creation, the streams and the trees and life itself and aging and the way you smile when you see a child, baby in a stroller. That is God. Right?
Everything.
You know God through the creation of God.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm in spirit form in deep meditation, I leave my body. There's nothing on this planet that I can look at that hasn't got energy pouring off it.
Exactly.
Everything, stones, dirt, literally, there's nothing that's not alive on this planet.
Yeah. And what does Christ say when Christ is speaking about, they said, where, if you want to find me, he's saying me is in the spirit of God. He says, look under a rock. He says, look under a rock. The lowliest
Yeah.
places you will find God. You will find it
Yeah.
absolutely everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah. You can't avoid it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's literally inherent in the act of creation itself, and that's once we like fully realize that, like in that intuitive
yeah.
way, like you said, when you get into that meditative space and energy's pouring off of everything, once you
Yeah.
behold that, now there's a little piece that's terror at first when you're not comfortable
Yeah.
with it, because it's like, whoa, this is this completely unexplainable. But then once you get past that, you just have this immense appreciation for
Yeah.
existing. And then you
Yeah.
realize
Yeah.
the one truth is love, companionship,
Yeah.
connection between neighbors, being able to trust your neighbor,
Yeah.
being able
Yeah.
to
I mean,
work together,
we
finding
are
purpose
all
in your own
one.
acts. Huh?
We are all one. One
Yes.
spirit, one consciousness, one energy,
Yeah.
literally everything. We are all born from the divine light, and we all go back to the divine light. There's no death. Death's an illusion.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I,
And that's
I, I,
wild.
I think
Yeah.
I experienced the dying process basically when I had this awakening, and I realised that we are eternal, divine beings. We are spirit in a
Yeah.
physical form, and we can't die. There's no such thing as death. It's energy just transforms.
Yeah, and it's hard to translate that to people, because I'll say that people will ask me what happens after you die.
I know, yeah,
And
it's
like
they always take you back to that one where you go, well, how can you say that you're one with a paedophile or a murderer?
Yeah,
that's what they always cling on to.
Yeah.
But then they've got to realize that everything is made up of negative and positive energy.
Yeah.
Everything's got balance. And I believe we've all got the ability to be angels, and we've all also got the ability to be demons.
Yeah.
That's within us. And, you know, that some people have lost their way and followed the negative force. And, you know, they're focusing on the negative, and it's taken them in completely the wrong direction. And I don't think that's the fault of anyone particularly. Oh, my light's gone out. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. And I just want to add on to it actually too, because we forget that we are in a lot of ways pedestrians and bystanders to forces that have been at work for God knows how long. So like you get the person that, like, let's say, like you said, the pedophile, right? Lots of pedophiles had a parent who was a pedophile, and they were abused so much that it messes their head up.
That's right.
So it's not to condone, but it's also not to condemn. It's a higher thing. Like, let us understand how they got like that in the first place and solve that larger problem, so it doesn't express itself in the human being anymore.
It's like their pure divine energy has been corrupted by the system.
Yes.
And by these negative people that are focused on the negative energy. And I think everything can be infectious in a way if you allow it. Because I always say to people, you're not suffering from the events you've experienced. You're suffering from the way you feel about that event or experience. And mostly people are like when people are suffering from depression, they're suffering from their memory. And when they're suffering from anxiety, they're just suffering their imagination.
Yep.
It's none of it's real. The only thing that's real is now. Yesterday, tomorrow, today, everything is happening now. And I can go back and watch like parts of my life from years ago. And I've also seen multiple different futures that we could potentially have. And they're all already there. Every pathway we get to, every option we've got already exists.
Yeah.
And our frequency matches whichever one we go with.
And in every given moment, we have this ability to make micro decisions one way or the other. And that goes back to the media and the distractions. If we're overwhelmed in our brains, we can't sit in the present moment and slow everything down enough to be able to make like decisions with agency. Like when let's say I get up and sort of reflexively go pour a coffee, or if I'm anxious, I reflexively grab a little bowl of ice cream to get a dopamine hit. Now, if I was really present in the moment and took a deep breath, maybe I would think about the thing that was bothering me that I was trying to cover up with the bowl of ice cream or the cup of coffee.
Yeah, definitely.
Everything's moving too fast here. And so, we're not able to see the infinite opportunities in any given moment of anything we could do right now. So, we resort to these quick animalistic things because we're so on tilt from the stress. We never have that moment of peace. Yeah.
It's just constant stress, suffering, and pain and fear. It just lowers our frequency so much that we can't stop thinking negative thoughts. And it's almost like you're on a loop of negative thoughts, the same ones every day coming in. And if you're focusing on those negative thoughts and thinking that you are those thoughts, they'll just keep going around in circles and have you, in torment for months or years or even your entire life. But as soon as you can kind of break free from that and you raise your frequency and you just experience that pure divine love, nothing can touch you. I truly believe that. Like, nothing can touch me now. No one can make me feel the way I used to feel. Or, I might kind of think, oh, that's not very nice, and then that's it. I'm not going to hold on to that energy or make that a part of me, because that's them being negative, and that's on them. It's not mine to take on. And this is what a lot of people don't realize. Most of their suffering isn't theirs. They've just focused their energy on it and made it a part of them.
Yeah, and it all goes back to this idea you said about death, right? Once you're liberated from the prison of the false idea of death, nothing can bother you. Yes, something can eliminate your physical body.
Yeah, I mean, we're far more powerful as a spirit than we are in the physical. So if anybody dies in this physical life, they get more powerful, more knowing, more divine, and more love. So how's that a bad thing?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, that's the best experience of my life, that dying process. So that fear is completely gone. And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
It's magical. It really is. But then
we
are magical beings.
Yeah. And they can't rule you once you've realized, like it happened for me during San Pedro. I took San Pedro, and then that's when that realization hit me. We were walking down this dirt road, and there was this guy that you could tell he was kind of not in a good place. He was upset about something. And I was like, oh, you might call it a tough part of town. I'm like, what if this guy, I'm high as hell. What if this guy just went berserk and just decided to end us, right? And then all of a sudden it was like, boom, you're like, not much would change, buddy.
No.
Mark wouldn't be here, but you would just be awareness again. This is death never happens. This is it's just another version of the experience. You lose Mark, you lose your ego, you lose your physical attributes, you lose your philosophy maybe, but you're still, there's this part of you that's always with you. That's a conscious awareness that was born into you when you were a baby. And then you had all this stuff added on and you collected a personality. But the only thing that goes away is that personality. That divine light that entered you at birth or before birth, at conception. That was intelligent when it entered into you. That was conscious when it went into you. But you're going to lose you. You're going to lose you. And so when you know that's
you as the ego.
Huh?
That's you as the ego.
Yes,
that you lose, and you don't want that anyway.
Yeah. I mean,
I notice a lot of people that kind of, Yeah, do you find a lot of people that are kind of acting like they're spiritual are it's just like a spiritual ego,
yeah
rather than real spirituality.
Yeah, And like, I'll notice that because a lot of people will start on a new journey, but then you'll see them fall
Yeah.
into something. You'll see them fall into
Yeah.
a new type of belief system with a new set of words and a new set of rituals and a new cosmology. And like, wait, you're
Yeah.
doing it again. It's natural for people to do that, to find those crutches, though, because I call it the great terrors. One of the great terrors is death, obviously. Another great terror is the idea of the evil God. You've heard people talk about the simulation theory, soul matrix. There's a lot of people that are afraid of the possibility that this entire reality is run by an evil God. So they got to make a really good God that's always there to protect us, and good always wins, and love, they need that mantra.
Yeah.
And then there's the abyss.
They're always relying on something external from their self to get that happiness and that good feeling. So they're not kind of realized that that's within them, that is them, and their thoughts and emotions and feelings are just to kind of veil over that.
Yeah.
So no one ever gets rid of that divine like they are, but it's just kind of, there's like a veil over the top of it, so they can't kind of experience it.
And then it serves certain purposes, right? It makes life a little easier for them intellectually, because on top of all those things, they don't have to take personal responsibility. They don't have to take personal responsibility to right evil out of the world, because karma, what goes around comes around. God judges them on the last day. They have all these excuses for why they're not going to stand up to tyranny, because someone else is going to deal with it when they roll the world up like a scroll.
Yeah.
No, buddy.
Do you know what? When I went through this experience and I met this divine light, there was no judgment whatsoever. It was just an explanation of what I'd experienced, and it was like a knowing. There wasn't like I didn't need to communicate. I just knew what it wanted to say to me, and it knew what I wanted to say, and it was just a knowing.
Yeah,
it was a bizarre way of communicating, but it's beyond thoughts, beyond the physical. You can't. It's difficult to describe it in words, because there aren't really any words to describe it. It's beyond all of what we know in the physical. So I think that's why people find it so hard to accept when people talk about these experiences, because they've got no idea of anything other than the physical.
Yeah, and the transliteration of those experiences, which is never has perfect fidelity. I think a lot of religions started with someone having an intense experience, like you explained. I try to put it in a place, and I say it's through the heart. That's what it feels like. The closest to me is like I deeply feel something, and then over time I can try to put it into words, but the more words I put it into, the less it's like the thing that I felt to begin with.
You can never fully do it justice with words, can you?
Yeah, it's impossible. And it's like they say, those who know don't speak, those who speak don't know. And it's a really, really cool axiom, I think, out of like emerald tablets or whatever. But that's the idea. Is like the more you say it and the more you add to it, the more destabilized it gets. It's the difference between mystic traditions like Sufism, Gnosticism, and Kabbalah, and the Abrahamic religions, which are really a devolution of those mystic traditions, which were more about beholding the present moment than it was about rites and rituals and writing down stories and telling you how to live. Yeah,
it's all external stuff to distract us, isn't it, and send us in the wrong direction. I mean, I always say to people, the reason we have this divide and conquer is because love is free and it can't be taxed. So they want us to hate each other. I mean, if we live in communities, we love each other and we just help each other for free. It doesn't have to cost you anything. So, and that's free. They can't tax it. They can't make money from that. And that's what these people that run our world are psychopathic, narcissists. And they just want this control, and they want to stop us from progressing as divine spiritual beings. So they kind of just teach us that's just pretend, what you'd see in Disney, and it's not real. But and I think I think a lot of the stuff they put on TV is almost demonic kind of spells and dark magic that kind of puts people in a spell, and then they're almost just blinded to that stuff because of it.
Yeah. And that's that big elephant in the room too. It's like, who exactly are these people that are doing this? How the hell did they get like that?
I know.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, what separates whatever that group of dark, shadowy individuals that wear cloaks and sacrifice pigeons in basements and stuff? What separates folks that, like, we're having this conversation now, people that are watching right now, people on the TikTok live? What separates us from them? Is it power? Is it a different type, like a different being altogether? Is this a spiritual possession? Is it just the deep fear that's promoting them to act out of that fear?
I think some of it could be like karmic energy from past lives, potentially. Okay. Like I explained to a friend the other day, she was talking about a person that was very negative and how she's tried to help this guy for years and she just can't seem to break through this negativity. And I said, you have to realize that his entire life could be a karma for a past life. I mean, he could have been Hitler in his past life, and now he's experiencing everything negative to rebalance things from, you know, what he's done in the past.
What do you think
I think all of that negativity stuff, I think it's just at some point someone's focused on the wrong energy, and rather than going with positive, they've just connected with the negative so much and they've focused on it so much, and over lifetimes it builds up and builds up, and then all of a sudden we see something as a really evil demonic thing, but it's just another divine being that's lost its way.
Yeah. And I wonder about this idea of, like, in Islam they talk about the jihad, which the jihad actually means the inner struggle. It's analogous to feeding the good wolf or feeding the bad wolf. And if you feed the bad wolf enough times, it literally changes your nature. It develops a deep foundational pathology in the way you behave, the more sin you commit, right? Or the more you lie over telling the truth, or steal more than making for yourself. But it's like this idea of Cain and Abel. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes.
Yeah, no, I have as well.
I have a general, like, I detest this wicked behavior, and I always have.
Yeah.
And I know there's other people like that. And then you think to yourself, was I given a gift? Or were you given a gift to not be ultimately, you know what I mean? Like, should we feel bad for them for, I don't know, having a particular type of life that they were always going to go down that path? Or what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's, like I say, I think it's probably like generational negative energy that's manifested into what they've become. And I think there may be some kind of demonic force that can attach to people and make them that way. But then again, I think that's probably over generations of them being negative or experiencing negative karma from their ancestors.
Yeah.
And it's pushed them in that direction. I mean, we could never know it all. It's like, I mean, I don't believe there was a beginning, and I don't believe there's going to be an end. They say, oh, there's always a beginning and there's always an end. But I don't believe in any of that. I think we've been here for eternity, and I think we always will be here. And it's always going to have cycles of ups and downs where we have to grow, and we have to experience negative experiences to get that growth. So maybe they're put here to help people like us grow. Like I know you talk about the 144,000, and I truly believe that we are part of that 144,000, and I think we are all angels.
Yeah.
And
You go ahead.
We've been sent here to raise the consciousness of the universe and the people in it.
Yeah. I when I was taking my ayahuasca, one of the things I was told was that there was an opportunity coming very soon to be able to reinstate a kingdom of heaven that used to be here
Yeah,
that we
yeah,
call Atlantis.
yeah. It's
That
the
that,
golden
that
age.
place was real.
I believe the sun is the frequency of the sun is rising steadily, and it has been over the last couple of years, and it's
Yeah.
forcing people to reconnect with the divine, and it's making them have these awakening experiences. And I think the more and more that happens, and the more the sun frequency rises, I think that these negative entities and negative people are going to just suffer more and more until they're kind of phased out, and then it will be left with all people that are being positive to then recreate and experience this golden age. And I think it's all done through the sun, because the sun is the giver of life, and I think basically all the divine light we're born from, the sun is that's energy.
Yeah.
That's divine energy shining light on us and giving everything life.
Yeah. And because the sun is the progenitor, right? And the earth is the womb, right? You have the male and female aspects. Yeah. So the sun sends its photon light, like the little squiggly go on the egg.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. The photons do the same thing, impregnate the earth, and the earth's womb, which has the soil, has all everything it needs, produces life. Yeah. And I've noticed the more time I've spent out in the sun lately, if I stay all day out in the sun, I drink water and I eat food.
Yeah.
And I work out and I breathe deeper. If I spend too much time away from the sun, I get back into the bad habits.
Yeah.
Very interesting. It's like the sun is bringing me back to who I'm supposed to be. It's been very fascinating the past couple of months.
Living here in England, obviously we get really crummy winters with not much sun at all. And you can just see so many people suffer with depression in the winter, and then they're all right in the summer. And they just think it's a seasonal thing, but it's definitely, the sun. I mean, I know a lot of people don't believe in these chemtrails and stuff, but they are definitely trying to block the sunlight off to stop the awakening, because they know it's going to happen. They know it's happening, and they've known it for years, because the people that run our world have remote viewers looking ahead to see what's coming, so that they know what to do. And they can't see past the year 2030. And that is when, that is when the frequency gets so high that we start the golden age. And because they're on this lower frequency, they can't see beyond that. But I've seen beyond that, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I've seen so many different futures. One of the futures I saw was where we all live on it's like a almost like a pyramid, but more of a cone shape, but upside down, and it's like levitating just above the ground. And we're living on top of these things in cities, and there's tubes connecting them, and everything in nature is just left in nature to grow and thrive, and we just don't interfere with it in this particular future. But I think there's better futures than that. I think there's futures where we are, because we are nature, and they've tried to separate us from nature. And I think that may be one of the futures with the technology, and where we do get fully disconnected from nature.
Yeah, there's like these infinite potentialities, like you said. Every micro transaction, micro decision by every single person on the planet is building out X future, controlling the narrative, gets them to do theirs. So honestly, literally the way we think and how much we can get this message out really counts. It really matters.
Yeah, definitely. And like I always say as well, before I had the TikTok channel and I was struggling on Facebook and Instagram, I was getting really disheartened with the shadow banning, and every time I thought I'd put a really good video or a post out, literally not a single person would see it.
Yep.
And I was getting so
go on the For
frustrated.
You page. Yeah.
But then I realized, I was like, hang on. And I put another post up, and I said, I writ this post to Mark Zuckerberg, obviously because he owns it. And I said, no matter what you do to try and stop me from spreading my message, if you all you'll ever do is make me sidestep and shout louder. Like
exactly.
if I can't get my message out to people online, I'll walk around and talk to everyone I meet and tell them in person. You see, they can't stop it. They just really, social media is just all imagination, really, isn't it? People only put the best parts of their life on there and make their life look really great, and then other people are suffering with depression and that, and they're thinking, oh God, look, all they ever do, these people are having a good time, but that's just a tiny part of their life they're showing you. They're not showing you the parts of their life when they're struggling and suffering.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes
but they're all going through it.
Yeah, Wesley Snipes, the actor, he's like, don't stress what people are doing online. No one posts their outs.
Yeah.
No one
that's
talks
right.
about their losses. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, they're having the same losses you're having.
Yeah, totally.
I try to post some of my outs personally. I try to make that example because
I do.
You know, it's like I want people to feel comfortable to do that because I had a friend in San Diego, and we were sitting down for breakfast at this hostel. And she said, one of the biggest problems in the world is I can't go over in that corner right now and cry in front of all of you. It's not socially acceptable for me to do that. And that's one of the biggest problems in the world is we can't.
I know. Yeah.
We can't let that out in front of each other and have that mass exorcism.
Do you know what? I don't understand it. It should be celebrated. When we cry, we're purging negative energy. And we should be like really pleased about that and celebrating it. And I mean, there's some native tribes in America that do celebrate that. And when somebody does start crying, the whole village gets around and they all sort of hug in a group and they all cry together. And it's a big celebration. And it's progression. Purging negative energy.
People are losing their minds because we're not doing that. Yeah,
exactly.
You're right.
Yeah, they're holding it in, and then they're they're not letting it out. You know, and it's not even theirs to hold on to.
Exactly. Yeah, someone forced at them for a while, told them to keep it, and after a while they believed it. And even after the person that was gone that hurt them in the first place, they're still programmed to continue doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A bit hot. Jumper off.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, isn't it? We're supposed to be having a summer over here, and it's been bloody cold most of the time. And they're still putting it on the media. They're still saying it's really hot, and we're having the hottest summer on record. Absolute nonsense. We've had loads of rain and miserable, cloudy days, and obviously, I think most of that's down to this cloud seeding and the HARP facilities manipulating the weather. And it's all their desperation trying to stop the mass awakening, which can't be stopped. It's like trying to stop the wind from blowing. It can't be done. And they're going to figure that out eventually. I think they think all they can do is slow it down.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're trying to focus on, just slowing it down so that they can get their control for a little bit longer, which is pretty pointless, I think, really. I mean, you know, they need to just get on board. I always try and invite them to the light when they try and affect me or bring me down. You know, I just say, look, I've got nothing against you. You are my brothers and sisters, and I invite you to the light. And that just renders them powerless.
Yeah. Because I think they also fear retribution. Once all this stuff comes down, it's going to be like,
there is none. They're not going to get that. They're just going to either learn from it or end up experiencing it again.
Yeah. And I don't think they realize that we... Huh?
You know, so go on.
I don't think they realize that we mean what we say. It's not going to be chopping heads and stuff like that, right? It's going to be, you need to go take some ayahuasca.
Yeah.
If you can't convert, we'll put you on a little island with you and all your buddies, and you can live out
Yeah.
your life there. Yeah, but we're not going to turn this into some massive bloodshed, because that's
No.
how this stuff got started. It got
You
started
can't.
the same way.
You can't win a war with violence. You can only win a
No.
war with love.
Mm-hmm.
Love is the answer to all our problems.
Yeah. If the foundations of any new city from a revolution is built on blood, it ends in blood, because that you casted a black magic blood sacrifice spell to start the civilization. It will fall. You can't start it like that. So it has to be peaceful.
Yeah.
But they
the blood
don't
is
think
the
like that.
force.
Huh?
Yeah. The blood is the force of the physical. Like it's the blood is the force of the physical. It's what gives life.
Yeah.
And like the plasma in our blood is information. And when people get when people get a swelling on an injury, it's basically that fluid has gone through your blood to get to that area to with the information to heal. And the first thing they do in a hospital is drain it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's there for a purpose. It's got the healing energy. It's got the healing information in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's going to be a lot of work to like help people unlearn. Right.
Yeah.
But I think that every day that we talk, we've been taking it the right direction. I know like, obviously you look on the media, it looks like everything's going to shit, but there is a very small little corner where they're actually building. We're actually building the future.
I'll tell you another thing. Even when we get videos that don't get very many views or likes, that doesn't mean that a lot of people haven't seen it.
Exactly.
The trouble is they're too scared and they're in fear of what might be, or they might be criticized for it, that they don't want to like it, because then other people can see that they've liked it.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that the message isn't getting out. It's always getting out, but we just don't always see, that there are people getting that message, and some people don't get it at all. But you've planted that seed, and that seed will grow at some point.
Yeah, and you'll see a domino effect.
Yeah. All the people around them.
Yeah,
that's it. Everything's got ripples.
Yeah, and it's one person by himself, by herself, yelling out there, telling everyone, and no one's there yet. But that one person keeps it up. Eventually, it's two. That two people is more appealing than the one. And it's going to get to a point when you get to 50,000, it's going to be easy to join, because you got a whole powerful network that has your back. Yeah.
And I think it is getting easier and easier. Like, I think if I'd have had my awakening 10 years ago, it would have been a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Because when I went through this experience, I had to Google what it was to find out it was a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
I had no fucking idea what I'd just experienced. It blew my mind completely. I did feel a little bit crazy. I was like, what was, it was because everything we've been taught, you probably think, well, maybe that was a hallucination or something. But that felt more real than anything I've ever experienced in the physical. So I knew it was real.
Yeah, there's a great website called biologyofkundalini.com. It is such a great resource, because it basically explains every single minute weird experience you have during the spiritual awakening, and explains to you biochemically what's happening. It explains to you psychologically what's happening. It tells you what foods to eat. It tells you what stretches to do. Man, it damn near saved my life, right? Because I was ready to go to the doctor over 10,000 things I didn't need to. I read this article, I'm like, oh, I intake this particular food, I'd feel better. I do this meditation, I'd feel better. I'd remind myself that I'm just needing to surrender to this, I'd feel better. The things that a doctor could never help you with, this website was quite a gem. That's why I listed on my links, because it's a treasure.
Have you changed your eating habits and the way you look at food and stuff since this experience?
Yeah. So I'll get back into my bad behaviors. I still got a lot of grief
Yeah,
to deal
yeah,
with that I'm purposely shoving down because I'm like, I know I'm going to need a couple weeks to go
yeah.
completely like, I'm not going to be functional to get all that
No,
stuff
yeah,
out because I've really pushed that aside to help other people. I know I'm going to
yeah,
have to do
yeah,
that thing. So
yeah,
I still do things to keep it quiet because if I do eat
yeah,
healthy and I don't smoke and I don't drink coffee, boom,
yeah,
explosion. I feel like I'm being
yeah,
taken out of my body every night, and I'm just not
yeah,
quite ready for it. But
yeah,
I'll tell you, um, the smell of food. Almost
yeah,
all meat when I'm there, all meat smells rotten,
yeah.
no
What
matter
it
how
is,
fresh it
yeah.
is.
I
It
know.
smells
I know. To
gross
be
to me.
honest, I when I first had this experience, I stopped eating meat for a couple of years. But then when I went on this crazy walk, and I was like, I was basically at the mercy of people's donations and people helping me out. So I just had to accept everything and be grateful for it. And I think
Yeah,
when we are grateful for everything we receive and we respect the animal's life
yeah,
that's
yeah,
that, that's ended for us to have that meal, then I think it gives us a lot of good energy as well. And I mean, I realised when I stopped eating processed meats and non-organic foods, I I stopped, all my negative thinking went away, and I
yeah.
realised that all our negative thinking is the negative energy of the animals suffering in these mass farmed places. And
There's
I
so
mean,
much
they're
karma on
suffering their
so many
whole
things.
life. And then we eat that meat, and then that energy transmutes into negative thinking and negative behavior.
Yeah, and not to mention the parasites and the
Oh
actual
God, yeah.
chemicals,
I
sodium
mean,
bromide. Like,
oh,
yeah,
I've
yeah.
had so much nasty stuff come out of me when I've done water fasts and juice fasts and stuff.
Oh yeah,
It's
man.
horrendous. And I
Yeah,
mean, to be fair, if I'd done a water fast now, I'd probably get a bunch more come out because we
yeah,
pick them up really quick. As soon as
yeah,
we lax on what we're eating and go back
yep,
to eating whatever's available or whatever we can afford, then we're picking that stuff up again. And the
yeah,
more pure and clean our bodies are, the easier it is for them to um, reproduce and grow.
yeah,
The
yep.
parasites,
And
so
the cells
they can take
heal.
over
Yeah,
quicker when the
yeah,
purer we are, which is bizarre. But then you start craving the foods that they want to eat. So the parasites inside us, they connect to our nervous
yep,
system, and they make
yeah,
us think we want rotten food. It's like
yeah,
parasites can only live on dead food. So as soon as we stop eating live food and eat dead food, then
yeah,
we're feeding them. And you've got to think they're pooping and pissing and dying
yeah,
inside us, and
yeah,
that's what's making us ill. I don't believe
yeah,
in germ theory. I don't believe we can catch viruses and stuff like that.
yeah. Yeah, I'm a terrain guy too. I'm definitely a
Yeah,
terrain theory guy,
totally.
especially after
Terrain
the Spanish
theory.
flu
Yeah.
experiments.
And I mean,
Yeah,
if it was a fact, they wouldn't still be calling it germ theory.
exactly. Yeah.
It's just
I mean, the
all of that
Spanish,
stuff comes so obvious, doesn't it? When that veil's lifted and you can see everything clearly. It's
exactly. Because they watch their words. They watch their words.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're
Well,
very careful
language
with
was
how they
invented
say things.
for that, so that they could
Yeah.
manipulate us.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I
The
always
Spanish
say,
flu experiment.
I've sort of been studying a lot of law and ancient laws and the manipulation of words and the meaning of words in like Black's Law Dictionary and stuff like that. And it's like, oh my God, we've just been messed with so much that it's so difficult for people to get that. I mean, when anyone in authority says to us, "Do you understand?" If we say yes, what we're saying is we stand under them and we're giving them authority over us. And so it's
Yeah, man.
basically the entire legal system is a contractual agreement that they trick us into agreeing to.
Yep. Yeah.
If we
And
go
we end up
quiet,
casting spells on ourselves.
yeah, yeah, and it's
Yeah.
yes, it's bizarre, isn't it? That I just
Yeah.
I I went from being what I considered a dumb stoner from before I had this awakening to this knowing of almost anything I want to learn about. I just study it and I learn it and I remember it. Whereas before, I just didn't have the capability. I wouldn't have been able to hold this conversation. I would have been stuttering and stumbling and forgetting what I was talking about. And, you know, I was in a right state with drugs and alcohol and negativity. And, yeah, obviously in the rat race as well, struggling. You know, you're working as all the hours under the sun, you're doing loads of overtime, trying to pay your bills, and then you just get taxed a load more and you end up struggling anyway. And then you're just tired all the time and you can't sleep properly. And, you know, it's just everything in our world has been set up to slow us down and stop us progressing.
Yeah. And once you step out of the box, you see the whole thing where everyone else is like, oh no, this is just the progression into the future. This is just technology. Like, no, it definitely is not the progression of anything. Yeah, it's the destabilization and crumbling of what was probably amazing way back in the day.
But I think it had to get to that point to then be able to tip the balance and go back the other way.
Yeah, so we can know where to not go.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, how can you know what true love is if you don't experience the negative stuff? Yeah. How would you know what's good if you can't experience bad?
Yeah. Or know how necessary it is until you don't have it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Aaron, it's been great talking. I gotta head out of here. The hour is up, but I look forward to
amazing. Great talking to you. Great talking to you.
Yeah, and also we're doing this thing called the Order of Melchizedek. It'll be once a month, and it's an open invite to anybody who wants to talk about these ideas and like imagine how we can start to make them happen in the real world. So I really look forward to you being a part of those.
Excellent. I'd love to.
I'd like to take more of a step back and let all of you discuss your ideas, because I got this huge platform. Everyone's always hearing me talk. I want to pull back a little bit and give you guys this opportunity on these larger platforms to have good conversations with each other. So
it's always good. I'd love to. That'd be great. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Thanks for stopping in.
Amazing chatting to you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for your wisdom, man.
Thank you. Take care.
Bless,
I'll catch up soon.
Yeah, man. Definitely. Bye. Hey, tag me on your TikTok name so I can make sure I'm following you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I will do.
All right, brother.
All right. Take care.
Have a good night.
I don't know how to get off of here.
I'll end it for all of us, all right?
Excellent. Okay. Take care. Thanks, guys. Love.